So the word Asr is itself, right? It means time. Now time was created by who? It was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Time is from whenever it started. We don't know when it started, right? And it will go on till the world is going to be there. And eventually everything is going to get destroyed. Now, this surah is one of the shortest surahs in the Quran. Now, this surah only has 3 verses, right? Does anybody know what are the other 2 surahs which only have 3 verses? Walid. Suratul Tawsar. Okay. Anybody else? You agree? Good job. Is he correct? Is it Surah Al-Asr and Surah Tawsar? Is that correct? So what are the other 2 surahs that have 3 ayahs only? Were you raising your hand? Okay. Okay, so Surah Ikhlas sounds like it's very small. Many people read it, right? And that's why many people actually read it, because they think it's very, very small. But Surah Ikhlas is not the shortest surah. It has 4 ayahs. Surah Asr has 3 ayahs. So Surah Kawsar is correct. But there is another surah that has 3 ayahs in it. And many of you read it because it's part of the last 10. Surah Nasr. Surah Nasr, even though it sounds like it's not very small, but it's the other surah that only has 3 ayahs. Okay, besides Surah Asr. So it is again, Surah Asr is one of the shortest surahs in the Quran. Now the Surah Asr came down at the very beginning, right? When at the very beginning of the period of revelation, when Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was still in Makkah. So it's a Makki surah. And, obviously, even though it is a very, very short surah, it's a very profound surah. People have written, just on Surah Asr, people have written volumes of books, not just a book, but volumes of books, just on Surah Asr. And the meaning of Surah Asr, and what does it imply? Okay, so what we are going to do here is obviously cover a very, very small portion of it in the short time that we have. Now, think about this. This surah defines the way of life, how we need to be living. Now, right here, imagine a big tree. Okay, imagine a tree, the largest tree that you've ever seen in your life so far. A tree has many branches, right? All the branches have many leaves, right? But everything starts from what? Ground, okay. Sure, this tree has to come up from the ground. It can be upside down. But what else? Sod, okay. Seed, right? The tree comes from a small seed. Whether that's a palm tree, whether that's a mango tree, whether that's any other tree, any of the larger trees, some of the trees in California, if any of you has been out there, they are so huge, exactly. They are so huge that even a man standing under the opening of the tree trunk, not even the entire tree trunk, but just the opening of the tree trunk seems extremely small. And they've taken pictures as the tree fell down. So the trunk of the tree fell down. So how wide the trunk was, a human could stand and could still not fill the width of the tree. It is so huge. But again, remember that tree came from a small seed, right? That's all it started. So similarly, the analogy is, again, for Surah Asr, is that even though it's a very small surah, but again, it has a profound impact. It has a profound impact on what the meaning that it conveys. And that's why I was saying that there are people who've written volumes, not just a book, but volumes of book on Surah Asr. Okay, so it basically outlines a complete way of life on how we need to be living, how we need to be interacting with the people around us, and how we need to be communicating with each other, what we need to do and what we need to stay away from. Now, Imam Shafi'i basically said that if we only reflect on Surah Asr, if this was the only surah revealed, it would have sufficed the mankind. Because in essence, if we can really understand the meaning of Surah Asr and what it conveys to us, the message in it is huge, right? So again, what I want you folks to do is, as you are listening to some of this, write down some of the things that you think you are taking away from the things that I'm saying, because I don't want this to be just something that people listen to and then go away. We want to derive some lessons out of what we are going to learn today, inshallah. Okay? So again, one of the shortest surahs, extremely profound meanings, gives us a way of life on what we need to do and what we do not need to do. Okay? So let's start taking a look at the actual ayahs. Wal-Asr. Okay? So the wa at the beginning of the surah is implying what? Does it mean and, or does it mean something else? Because the word wa typically means wa, which is and. But in this case, Musa, exactly. So basically, this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically taking an oath. Now, imagine this. When do people take oath? When they are either angry, when they want to prove a point, right? Typically, that's what humans do, right? You will say, oh, I swear by God. Some people would say that. I'm not saying that is right or wrong, but people would swear by that, right? Or say swearing words before there's something, and that really means that they are going to say something, or they are basically vouching for whatever they are going to say. So here, in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by time. Now, Allah has taken oath in the Quran by the things that He has created. What are some of the other examples of where Allah has taken an oath? Surah Shams, which is Washamsi, right? Which means by the sun. That's another oath that Allah is taking. It doesn't mean and sun, right? It is wa over there is implying taking an oath. Washamsi, right? What other place? Surah Teen, which is Wateen, exactly. Even in Surah Shams, if you continue, there are other words in there which are implying oath, right? Washamsi wa duhaha, wal qamari idha talaha, right? So Allah is taking oath. And again, the point is, what this is defining is whatever Allah is going to say at this point in time, He is going to say something extremely important, and that is where ears should perk up, right? We should start paying a little bit more attention. Now, this is basically creating a sense of urgency. Now, what is one thing that everybody has? Everybody has time, right? Rich or poor. Some people say, I don't have time, but you still have somewhat of a time, right? You may not have a whole lot of it, but you still have time. That's the point, that you do have time. Everybody has it. Some people use it very wisely, right? And maximize the time. And there are days when you would feel that you've accomplished a lot. And then there are days where you would feel, I don't know where the day went by. I just started something and I had so many things to do and it's over already. Or sometimes, these days now, it feels the week is the same way. Today is Monday, we go through what we go through, and here comes Friday. And it seems that it's gone by so quick, right? And that is, what our life is. So when I was of your age, right? When I was going to high school and middle school, to me at the time, it used to feel people who are in their 40s and 50s, that's far away, man. I could not have imagined myself being 40 and 50 at that time. It just seemed like there's so much time that has to go by before I get there. And now, when I am to that age, when I look back, everything seems like a flash. If you rewind, and if you guys, where you are at, if you think about where you were last year to this time, it would seem like a flash. The time just flew. Sure, you went through whatever you went through, but where you are today, if you turn around and look at the life that has gone by, that is what it seems like. And that is exactly what is going to happen on the day of judgment. Your life is going to be played in front of you, and it will seem like a flash. It will seem like all the 40, 50, 60 years, and we don't know how, which of us is going to live to be how long. But whatever life, even if you've lived 60, 70, 80, or 90 years, it would seem like a flash. The time just went by. Now, a couple of meanings of the word Asr here. So one thing is that some scholars here say that the word Asr here basically means the Asr prayer time, right? Which is right in the middle of the day. Now, what happens with Asr prayer time? It comes in the middle of the day. It's the third prayer of the day, right? And it comes at a time which is typically an extremely busy time for many people, right? Whether you're going to school, whether you're doing something else, obviously most of you are going to school, but even for the adults, it comes at a time which is extremely busy. You could be running around, running back from school to something else, to a soccer game or to a football game or whatever, or you could be running from your game to another game or to some tuition or to something else, right? But you are busy at that time of the day. And the time itself is very short, right? So besides Maghrib, the time for the Asr prayer is one of the shortest times, right? That is there. It's only about just a couple of hours, and depending on if you look at winter time, it's even, it's extremely very short. The time itself is the period itself is very short. And that is again what this word is implying by saying that is that it's very, very short. And some people say that again, the timing of Asr is from the revelation that came to Prophet ﷺ till the end of time. So there's different interpretations of that. Now again, if I were to tell you right now that there was a tornado, right? I mean, we heard about the hurricanes that came in Texas, right? And we knew about that from 3-4 days or even a week prior to actually it coming up, right? It making the landfall. We knew about that, right? And there were warnings which were being issued. People were doing the preparation that they could do. Some people were making preparation. Some people say, we'll see. We'll just, ride it out. Now, if I were to tell you that a tornado is about to hit where we are sitting right now in Alpharetta, and you have two options. You can either take cover, right, and be inside a building and just secure yourself, or, you can just watch and just see what happens, right? Some of us may choose the option of securing ourselves. Some of us will say, be more adventurous, and they'll say, okay, we'll see what happens. Not a big deal. It's exciting. That it's a tornado coming, we'll get to watch it. It's really cool if we could do that. Now, when 6 p.m. comes, right, if it's going to hit at 6 o'clock, and if 6 p.m. comes, the people who would have ridden it out, right, would be inside and secure. The people who were saying that we want to experience it would be outside experiencing it. So there's only two choices, right, that can happen. Now, whatever the consequences are of that, each one of us will have to bear. People who rode it inside, maybe they found safety. People who were outside in the open trying to experience the tornado may get hit with it, may get hurt. Whatever the consequences are, they will have to bear it at the end. And that is, what we need to understand by looking at this word, Asr, is that it's all about the choices that we make at the end. Okay, it is a choice that you are going to make. You are faced with decisions all day long. You're faced with a decision, should I play a video game or should I do my studies first? Should I go and play soccer first, or should I help go my mom and dad with whatever they need my help with, right? Or should I go and do stuff on the small little electronic device that I have and go sit in a room where nobody's watching me, right? With whatever you're doing, and you could be doing whatever you're doing. But the fact that you don't want to sit, and I'm not saying anybody of you, but in general, that somebody does not want to sit out in the open with their parents and be able to do what they're doing, maybe there is something that's not right with it. If you cannot do something in open with other people around you, maybe there's something that's really wrong with that, right? You've got to give that a thought. But again, the point is, it's all about the choices that you make, each one of you. And each one of us, including me, is answerable for whatever I do. At the end, all of us are of an age which is where you are considered an adult or almost an adult in the eyes of Islam. Okay, it's not 18 years old. So even if any of you dies tomorrow, may Allah save all of you and protect you and give you hidayah and give you a long life. But if any of you dies tomorrow, you cannot claim that, oh, I didn't know, right? And that is what happens with knowledge, is that with knowledge, that excuse goes away, right? So somebody who has not received the message may be excused, but somebody who has the message may not be excused. So again, now the thing is that this surah basically redefines success and failure. What is success in the eyes of this world? Can somebody give me an example? What do you think success is in this world? Bilal?
Finishing the Quran.
Finishing the Quran. Do you think that's considered success by most people around you? That's what I'm asking. What is success by most people who are around you? Being rich, taking a good job, and getting into good college, becoming famous, right? Those are all wants that people have. That is how people measure success. If you are known more, if you have a lot of friends around you in school, if you look cool in the eyes of those friends, that's fame. That's fame for you guys, right? People are considered successful. That is what people want to hang around with. Many people want to hang around people who they consider are the in people, right? Or they're in the ground, or they're in the zone sort of people. But the point is that is not considered success when we look at our life with the lens of the surah. The surah says completely something else, completely opposite to what the world will tell you what success is. Okay? Now, if you think about it, people who have a house are considered successful. People who are homeless are considered not successful. People who can live in a country are considered, they're citizens of a country, or they are eligible to live in a country. People who are deported are not considered successful in general because they're deported for one reason or the other, right? Somebody who has a lot is considered successful. Somebody who does not has a lot is considered not very successful. Now think about this. Think about the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam was kicked out by his father because he would not follow the religion of his father, right? He went through desert. He went and left his wife and his kids in the desert all alone. Do you think there was success at that time? Do you think being kicked out of a house is success? Do you think Rasulullah, when he was forced out of Makkah, and he was living without much food and traveling through the desert, do you think that was success? Was everybody thinking he's a very successful man? Probably not, right? But again, that's where I'm trying to put the message across is success is different depending on how you see it. Okay, so let's take a look at our next slide here. So there are two blessings which people waste in their life. One is health and one is free time. Okay, and many people would really just waste those things. Their youth, people sometimes waste after things which we should not be focusing on, right? And may Allah protect us from doing so. Let's get to our next verse. So verse number 2, Innal insana lafi khusr. Now the literal meaning of this verse is that indeed mankind is in a state of loss. Okay? Now the word inna, as we know, the meaning of that is indeed, which means surely. There is no doubt about that. And that is again a word where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically saying that there is no question that mankind is in a state of loss. Now Allah is not saying that the Muslims are in a state of loss, or that the non-Muslims are in a state of loss, or the Christians are in a state of loss, or the Jews are in a state of loss. Allah is basically saying everybody, which includes us also, Muslims, that we are in a state of loss, right? If we don't pay attention to what we are going to be doing. Now the word insan itself, right? There's many meanings of the word insan. The word insan itself is mentioned 56 times in the Quran. Okay, in different surahs. And whenever Allah has mentioned the word insan, Allah is basically bringing it all together in this ayah. Now, in one place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how insan was created. And where was that? That was in which surah? A surah that we read, Surah Al-Asr, right? It talks about how humans are created, right? They're created basically from a cloth. Now, the origins of a human, if you think about your own self, now, most of you are adults or understand how humans got created. Human being, and this is what Allah is saying in the Quran, is human was created from a negligible substance. There is nothing, so important about a human that he should boast about himself, or boast about the status that he has, or boast about the things that he has. Right? We came from something very, very humble, but we become ungrateful very quickly. Right? If you think about the kids, it may not be you, maybe kids around you, but people become ungrateful very quickly. Not just the kids, but adults also. If we don't get something that we want, we become ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, when He gives us the bounties and the things that He gives us, we don't thank Him enough. And this is what Allah is basically talking about, is humans are extremely ungrateful. Now also remember that when we talk about some of this, the measure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell us that He is going to measure the humans on is for Allah to judge. Right? So we cannot basically judge other human beings. We cannot judge other human beings. We should not be judging other human beings. The only judge who should be judging humans is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Now, imagine you're sitting here today. You remembered, hopefully, most of you remember what you did yesterday and what you did last week, right? Now, imagine if you forgot, if you only had a memory left for the last 24 hours, if you did not remember anything else of what happened the day before, or the week before, or the year before, what is going to be the outcome of that? The outcome of that is you would not know where you came from, and you would not know where you are going to go, if you forgot where you came from. And that is again why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us of where humans came from. So we could remember the humble beginnings of how we started the life, so that we can always remember that as we do any action in this world. Now, humans obviously are very impatient, right? We want things right now. Any gratification that we want is right this second. We do not want to wait for tomorrow or a day after. If you want a video game, you want it right now. If you want to be doing something, you want it right now. And that's what humans are, even adults. They want things right now. That's how we want to be satisfied. But again, that is not how it works in the world, in the eyes of Islam. Sometimes we can get rewarded quick, but sometimes we may not. But again, that is where the lesson of sabr comes in. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us. Now, let me move the slide forward here. So on the day of judgment, right, this is what humans are going to be. It's a very, very, we've heard of the Pulsarat, which we have heard about, that it's going to be sharp as a sword, right, but extremely thin. And then that's one of the places you would have to go over. Now, that's not the only place where people would be discarded, right? That is just one of the places. There are other places where would be stops along the way to Jannah, right? And people will get off the train or will be pushed off the train to Jannah because of one thing or the other. Pul Sirat is one of the places. Now, this is what we need to remember is on the day of judgment, right? You'll be walking a very tight rope. Have you ever seen somebody who's walking a tightrope? There is a very high chance of them falling, right? Now, they could be an expert in what they do, but you cannot be an expert on walking the Pul Sirat. I can guarantee you that, okay? Nobody would have crossed something like that ever before. And again, there would be Jahannam waiting for people right underneath that, okay? And people would be rewarded by their actions that they can cross it successfully without falling down. And there are people who would be punished because they would not be able to cross it because of their deeds that they did in this life. Now, we need to keep some of this in mind as we think about some of that. And also remember the ayah that we just looked at, that indeed humankind is in a state of loss. Now, as we get to our third verse, which is the final verse of Surah Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes exceptions. So He's made a blanket statement about all humans. Everybody's in a state of loss, except the word illa, which is part of this verse, is extremely important. And it's actually a good news for the people who believe and for the people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment, because it is giving us a way out. Now, humans are different. So one example is, think about this. If you go into your class, you gave a test, you go into the class and your teacher says, everybody failed. And it's like, really? And maybe that was like a major test you were taking. But the teacher says, accept. And that's when you get that hope in you, that maybe it's me who didn't fail, right? Otherwise, everybody's thinking you failed. Right? It's the same thing with this ayah, is that Allah is saying everybody's in a state of loss, except. And that is where we start paying more attention to who are those people who didn't really fail, or who are in a state of loss. So Allah is basically saying, except for the people who did amanu, which is people who believed, and people, amanu salihat, which is people who did righteous deeds. So the word as-salihat basically means righteous. Okay. So humans are different. Now, we all eat different food, we all look different, we all think differently. But as far as deeds are concerned, right, the deeds that all of you are going to be doing will be measured by with the same scale. Right? It doesn't matter whether somebody is short and somebody is tall and somebody is huge and somebody is small. It doesn't really matter, because whatever deeds you are going to be doing, they will be judged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, one thing that is important is, it is not the quantity of the deeds that you do, it is the quality of the deeds that you do. That is what is going to count. Your intention behind the deeds that you're doing. How pure your intention was. Were you doing it for Allah, or were you doing it for somebody else? Now, one thing, let's talk about what does it mean to believe. Do we know what are the 5 pillars of Islam? What are they? Which is basically that we give shahada, right? We give, what's the second one? Salah, prayer. Third one, zakat. Fourth one, Saum. Fifth one, Hajj. Okay, everybody knows that, right? Pillars mean they are the foundations. The building of Islam cannot stand without it. Has anybody ever heard of the pillars of Iman? How many pillars are there of Iman? Okay, 6. What are those? So believe in one God, right? Believe in books, believe in the angels, believe in the prophets, believe in the day of judgment, and then believe in Qadr, which is what Allah has ordained for you, right? Those are the pillars of Iman. So when we talk about Amanu, right, it is not just the pillars of Islam, but it's the pillars of Iman that we need to focus on. And Amalus Salihat are basically righteous deeds. Now, what I want you to do is, and I know we are sort of running, a little short on time here, but I want you folks to take down 1 minute or 30 seconds maybe, and think about 2 good deeds that you did this morning. Just this morning. 2 good deeds that you did this morning. Just write it down in your own books. I'll give you 30 seconds. 2 good deeds. Any good deeds that you think, and doesn't really matter, you don't have to worry about whether this is a good deed or not. If you think it was a good deed, just write it down in your books. 2 good deeds that you did this morning. 30 seconds. Now, if one thing to remember is, if you know if you can write down 2 good deeds, that's awesome. If you think you can write down more than 2, that's absolutely awesome. If you think you cannot write down 2 but 1, that's great. But if you think you don't have anything to write down, right, that is something for us to think about. Is that we've already spent a few hours in a day. Is there a good deed that we did since this morning? Right? If we did not, maybe that's something to remind us, is that we need to change something for the rest of the day. And maybe we need to change something for the rest of the week. And maybe we need to change something for the rest of the month and the year and our life. Right? So in terms of good deeds, so Abu Dahar narrated, and this is a hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is that your smiling in the face of your brother is charity. That's a good deed. If you smiled at somebody today, that was a good deed. Commanding good and forbidding evil is charity. You're giving directions to a man lost in the land is charity for you. You're seeing for a man with bad sight is a charity for you. Your removal of a rock, a thorn, or a bone from the road is charity for you. You're pouring what remains from your bucket into the bucket of your brother is charity for you. If you smiled at somebody this morning, that was a good deed that you did. If you helped somebody in the morning, that was a good deed that you did. If you did those good deeds, you should be proud of that. But you should not be boasting about it. That should be an encouragement for you to do the good deeds for the rest of the day. Okay? And Rasulullah basically said, even if you give half a date in charity, that is good for you if that's all what you can afford. So what that means is that do what you can. Put in your portion, your share into it. And again, we're on the very last verse of Surah Al-Asr. وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and advised each other to truth and advised each other to patience. Now, some quick lessons that I want you folks to write down on some of this is, one thing is the things before that, amanu wa amilus salihat, right? Those were things that you can do on your own. But here, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, those are things at a group level. What that means is, if you want to go to a place that you like going, do you want to go there by yourself? Or do you want to take people that you like along with you? If you're going for a vacation, would you want to go there alone, or would you want to go with your family or with the people that you love? Right? So the focus of this is that we need to not be just doing good things as individuals, but we need to remind others of the people around us. May that be our family, may that be our friends, may that be our cousins, whoever. We need to remind those people of the truth as well, right? And we need to remind of each other of patience. If you get into a test by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember that patience will get you across. Some quick lessons out of this that I want you to write down is, one thing is, fix your focus, which means focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is from Allah, everything goes back to Allah. Second thing is, purify your intentions. or whatever you're doing, everything that you do should be with the intent to please Allah and nobody else. Because if you have it with any other intention, it is not going to be, it may not be considered accepted by Allah, except when it's purely for Allah. Third thing is, give importance to Salah by planning your day around Salah. Okay, it should not be the last thing you should be thinking about, it should be the first thing you should be thinking about. Fourth thing is, fixing a part of the day or a week to gain knowledge of the religion with the intent to apply it. So whatever we are learning here, and whatever you learn outside of this, apply it. Because if you don't apply it, you're losing it. Right? It does not stay stagnant. Either you gain it or you lose it. Okay, and then ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For any bad things, bad sins that we would have done, Allah can forgive everything. You will be forgiven, inshallah, till you are, breathing the last breath. Allah is ready to forgive those who will ask for forgiveness. Okay? All right, and the very last thing I'm going to say is that as individuals, you are a reflection of the 5 people that you hang around the most. Okay, so look, you can, and that's where it's said is that show me your friends and I will show you who you are. So it depends on the friends that you make. So try to make friends who are a good influence in your life. Okay, hang around with people who are going to encourage you. Don't hang around with people who are going to take you to the path that you do not want to tread. Okay, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Again, I tried to cover a lot in the short time that we had, but may Allah accept this for all of us, inshallah, and make it heavy on the day of judgment for all of us, inshallah. So that would be our session today for Surah Asr. Assalamu alaikum.